Hello, I'm Miss Barber. I'm head of Year 7. Myself and Miss McGlynn, Deputy Head Teacher, will be talking through a bit of information that you may need for your child's new start in Year 7. Really sorry that we're not able to do this in person. Hopefully in a few months' time we'll be able to rearrange something and she'll actually finally be able to meet us. So just to introduce the Year 7 team, we're going to be working really closely together to ensure that your child has a really positive start here at Tretherras. Obviously, I've already introduced myself. I'm Miss Barber, the head of Year 7. My role is to oversee everything that happens in Year 7. That's including obviously their transition from primary school. I've already been in communication with their Year 6 teachers to help them to settle in, to help them with all of their progress, just generally to be around when they might need anything at all, and from yourselves, just email and I can help with anything, whatever it might be. We've then got Miss Nolan, who is the Deputy Head of Year 7. She has a role that's very similar to me. Anything that the students or yourself might need, you can be in contact with her. They've got the very, very important role, which is the form tutors. They will be staying with your child for the next 5 years. They will be tracking attendance. They'll be making sure that all of your children are happy, making sure that they're safe in school, but also tracking some of their progress. But they will see them every single morning in tutor time. So therefore, that's the person that you probably want to contact first. If you've got any queries, the form tutors can try and to help you. And we then have Miss McGlynn, who is the Deputy Head Teacher. She's linked to Year 7, and you'll also be in contact with her if there's anything that you might need. So Year 7 marks the start of a new journey for your child. Obviously, it's been an extremely strange transition where we've not been able to invite them up before their first day on Friday. This has been tricky. Obviously, we're not able to have gone out to meet them. We've not been able to answer all of those questions, obviously help you with kind of calming their anxieties about school. But I was so impressed with the way they came in on Friday and the start that they've already made. This year, they're going to be learning a lot of things about Tretherras. So they've already been introduced to their form tutor. They've met their tutor groups. And these are the groups that they're going to be with every single morning for those 20 minutes where we will be doing assemblies. We'll be focusing on tracking uniform, attendance, but they'll also be taking part in some different activities in the morning just to sort of help them start their day. They then go into teaching groups. Now, whereas usually they would be in their teaching groups going off to their different lessons, whether that be Spanish, history, English, and so on, this year's slightly different due to the COVID regulations. They will be in their teaching groups, but they will have what we call their sort of bubble room. So a lot of the day will be spent in this one room where they're minimising the contact with lots of other students, and they'll be in that group where their teachers will come to them. They will still go off to their sort of specialised lessons such as science and art and DT, but the majority of their lessons will take part in their bubble room, as I say, to minimise that contact and try and keep them as safe as possible. They then obviously clubs due to COVID may be slightly reduced. However, I know that the PE department are working on ensuring we can offer as much as possible. And as we go on and as the regulations from the government change, we'll be introducing more and more of the clubs that we know are a really important part of being at Tretherras. A list will come out separately in the coming weeks, which will explain to your son or daughter the different clubs that are on offer and when they will be. So at Tretherras, we pride ourselves in offering as much pastoral support as we possibly can to your son or daughter. We have an extensive team that can offer all different types of things, whatever it is that your child might need. We hope that we can offer some support. Obviously, myself in the head of year role can oversee what support is being offered to your child. But one of the things that I always say to the students and to parents is please let us know. There's times when sometimes students don't tell us things. They might go, for days being unhappy, there's something that they're worried about. And it's really important that somebody comes to speak to one of us so that we can get that support in quite early. We want to be able to, support you with supporting your child in whatever they might have going on in school. So obviously we see your children every single day. The form tutors will be in contact with you if we're concerned about anything. But it's a two-way relationship. We need you to contact us. So obviously you can give us a call where you'll speak to someone in reception who will let us know to give you a call back. But also the quickest way of getting hold of us is to email us directly at year7@Tretherras.net. We'll try and get back to you as soon as possible with anything that we can do to support your child. So just please let us know. Being prepared for the day ahead is obviously really important for all of us. At Tretherras, we call this NT Ready. Every day, the form tutors will be checking that your child is ready for whatever it is they've got that day. So we just ask that you could help us in doing that by ensuring they've got as much equipment as possible, particularly at these times during the COVID regulations in terms of sharing different equipment. It would be really helpful if your child can have their own equipment. This now includes the list that you can see on the screen, but really importantly, if they can also have scissors and glue, that would really help us out. It minimises the objects that they're sharing, it minimises the things that they're touching. So as much as possible, if you could get those things, that would be great. In the Year 7 office, I always have spare pens and rulers and rubbers. So if your child gets to school and forgotten their pencil case, they do not need to panic. If they get themselves organised in the morning, they can come and grab something which they then keep. But if you can support us in as much as possible with this, just making sure that they are independent and checking their own bags, but especially at the beginning, if you can just remind them that they need these things for their lessons, that'd be fantastic. Form tutors are there to help them and just make sure they're ready for the day, so that they can get the most out of all of their lessons. Throughout the summer, our site team have been working endlessly to ensure that Tretherras is a safe space for your children to return to school. Working with our leadership team, a number of sanctions have been put in place that your children have already been told about in their assembly on Friday. A copy of this assembly is also going to be made available to you so that you can go through this in a little bit more detail. But I'm just going to outline some of the key points about the COVID rules that we have in place. Firstly, there's one entrance for each year group. For Year 7, this is the entrance by the main reception and up in through the art block. They're all fantastic using this already, so we need to continue doing that. They each have a bubble room. So as I mentioned earlier, to minimise the movement around school, they'll be staying in one room in as much as possible. So that will be their room, again, to minimise that contact. They are in year bubbles, so they may have break and lunch times with their year. Obviously, when we do have full year assemblies, they'll be in that year bubble. That is per the guidance that's been outlined by the government. So there are times where they'll be in sort of bigger areas, but that is just with Year 7s. There is a staggered timetable that's been introduced this year. So whereas before all of the students would have break and lunchtime at the same time, that's different this year, where there will just be one year group in each area at certain times. So again, to minimise that contact with multiple different students. There's a one-way system in school. For obviously Year 7s, that's something that they might not have known about before. Obviously, if you've got older siblings in the school, then they'll be learning about those as well. So it's really important that they adhere to those one-way systems to ensure safe movement around the school, where we also have a distancing as much as possible in the corridors so that we can keep them safe from one another. Hand sanitizer is available outside every single classroom. They'll be encouraged to wash their hands as they move around the school, obviously ensuring that when they go to the toilet they're following the 20-second hand washing and doing that as much as possible. But there is hand sanitizer available and all workspaces are going to be washed down regularly, particularly in the computer rooms. And finally, face coverings. We're working on the guidance that's been issued obviously by the government. Face coverings are compulsory on the buses, but they are not compulsory in any other spaces. However, if your child feels more comfortable wearing a face covering in school, particularly in the sort of social spaces, then that is absolutely fine. We want each child to feel that they are safe, and we want you to know that they are safe. And so therefore, whatever they feel comfortable doing, then we support. So if they want to wear face coverings, then that is allowed.
We use a range of assessment techniques at Tretherras, with students often peer and self-assessing within lessons, but we also scaffold towards more formal assessments such as our PPEs or pre-public examinations. These are usually just one per year and in Year 7 are towards the latter part of the school year. We always aim to measure our 5 years across Tretherras from Year 7 to 11, and it is progress that is our primary focus, not in Year 7 looking towards those final grades, but we must recognise that all grades matter, whether they be a grade 1 or a grade 9. When your child first joins us, you will obviously want to know how well they're settling in, and this report will look very different from all future reports. It will focus mainly on their behaviour, their engagement, and whether they've managed to organise themselves, making sure they've brought all the correct equipment, etc. It will also tell you in English and math whether they're working on track or indeed whether they're below or above it. You'll also be able to see their subjects and their subject teachers. After the initial settling in report, you will start to receive reports that look like the one on the screen. Here you can see that in English and Maths, we may actually report a GCSE grade, starting with a grade 1. If your son or daughter is not quite at this stage yet, then they may also receive an I grade, which goes from an I1 to an I5, and these are the grades that lead to a GCSE grade 1. You'll also see that you'll be able to see whether your son or daughter is working above, on, towards or below their track, and you'll be able to see their attitude to learning. In all other subjects outside of the core, your son or daughter will be awarded a step grade, the explanations of which are on the right-hand side. You'll receive some additional information about attendance as well, and you'll see that the entire report is colour-coded for your convenience. In addition to the reporting structure, it's also useful to know that during our tutorial programme, we will also be focusing on Accelerated Reader. This is a programme that many students have used in their primary school. It's extremely popular. Students loved having the opportunity to quiz and to track the success that they're having. This also leads to a reward programme, and along with the word project, we use these two systems to develop the vocabulary of our young people, recognising the importance that that plays in final GCSE exams.
Some of you may already be familiar with class charts. You might have used them in your primary school. This is an app or an online website that we use to track all behaviour, all homework, positive praise, and you will be able to have direct access to this. In the next week or so, you are going to receive a login and a password. You can log in online and you can download the app straight to your phone. When your child receives a house point, or in some small circumstances, perhaps a negative behaviour point, you will receive this straight away. So you will be notified of how they're getting on in school. This is also where all of our homework will be set. So when a teacher's setting homework for a lesson, it will appear on your child's class charts, but you will also be given direct access to that, so you know what the expectations are of them that week. So please, if you could make sure you log into this regularly, and if possible, if you could download the app, that would be great, as this is one of the forms that we use as our sort of regular contact with parents for you to be able to track and monitor how your child is getting on. As I say, with the positive praise points, there are different milestones where your child will get things like postcodes. In Year 7, we do different prizes where they get raffle tickets and queue jump passes. And so it's important if you can monitor that as well as us, so that you can be chasing us if we're not giving anything that your child deserves. But a really, really important thing that we use to track attendance as well, so you can kind of see what we're seeing on a daily basis. As I mentioned before, using class charts, we monitor our praise and behaviour, but really importantly for me in Year 7 is about rewarding Year 7s for the amazing hard work that I know that they do. It's not just about the negatives, it really is at Tretherras about how well they're doing, and we want to constantly be reminding them that it's really important that they're acknowledged for their hard work, and we really want them to see that it's really cool to succeed. So at 10 house points, they're going to get some postcards. Okay, form tutors are going to track that and make sure that we give them a really important well done as they're settling in. And as I say, throughout the different kind of milestones, they then get different prizes. So the raffle tickets at the end of each term, we draw out and we get some different vouchers from local companies. There's queue jump passes for the hall for if they're school dinners. We then do different sort of like meet and greets for the head of year. We'll give them sort of personal praise. I will sort of invite them in. We'll have like a cake and just a sort of well done, and then eventually that goes on to meeting the head teacher. So we really want them to kind of feel valued, and obviously all those house points that they're achieving in lessons and their clubs sort of are rewarded with different things throughout the year. We know that a lot of our students will be bringing mobile phones with them. They have them in their bags. They are constantly on them at break and lunch times. But just to make you aware of the rules that we do have in school around mobile phones, they are not allowed their mobile phones or their headphones in at any point whilst in the school building. If they are found with their phone on them by a member of staff, it could be confiscated. So just to make you aware, we do allow students to use their phones at break and lunch times if they are in outside spaces. But obviously, along with safety protocols, we need to make sure that they're not taking photos, they're not filming, because we need to make sure everybody is safe. So just a reminder, they are not allowed mobile phones within the school building, and they must have them in their pockets, or even better, possibly in their bags. Attendance is obviously extremely important. We need your child to be in school so that they can learn, and to help them with the best possible opportunities for their future. Miss Nolan and Mr Carter will be monitoring attendance throughout the year. So Miss Nolan, obviously as Deputy Head of Year 7, will be first instance monitoring any student that is below 97%. 97% and over is what we consider to be good attendance. Anything below that will trigger some of our attendance protocols. Mr Carter, who's assistant head teacher, oversees this, and anything where we're concerned, particularly anything below 92% of attendance, will trigger some further conversations from Mr Carter, and you will be contacted by one of our sort of attendance team. During COVID, the rules are that children still need to be in school. Obviously, if you have an extreme case where there is a member of your family who is vulnerable, or there is reasons that your child can't come to school, please be in contact with us as soon as possible, and we will have a conversation as to whether that's an acceptable reason for your child to not be in school. The COVID pandemic is no longer a reason for your child to not be in school unless you have specific reasons, so please be in contact with us.
We're extremely proud of our uniform at Tretherras, and we've always worked very closely with the school council and the student body when making any changes. And indeed, it was the school council that brought in the new blazer. They selected the blazer that's currently being used, and with that, we made redundant the school jumper. Obviously, we require students to have them with them at all times, and they are always to be worn into assemblies. In the summer term, we may alter our regulations due to increases in temperature, and students may always ask to remove their blazer with the permission of their teacher within their lessons. When moving around the school, we insist that all shirts are tucked in, that trousers meet the ankle and are not rolled up. We ensure that girls' skirts are as close to the knee as possible. They need to be regulation school skirts and not be very tight or tube style skirts. We also have some new uniform this year. We have a unisex short, again to be worn to the knee, and we've introduced two forms of tie instead of just the regular clip-on tie. And that was because if it was broken, it was no longer able to be tied to a full length and to be worn correctly. So there is a clip-on tie, but there is also a regular tie that can be purchased. For other aspects of the uniform, we ask that it's just strictly one earring per ear, that there are no other facial piercings, and that no other piercings can be substituted by wearing a plaster over them or a clear stud of any form. They must be removed before the student arrives at school. We do not accept nail varnish. We have a strict policy regarding acrylic nails. They're very dangerous and they're highly flammable, and they mustn't be worn at the academy. We ask that all hair colour is of a natural type, and there are no extreme haircuts, and we do not accept makeup. When thinking about uniform, obviously a number of our students do wear a skate style shoe to school and they are all black. However, these are not suitable to be worn for PE and games, so there should be an additional pair of trainers. Ideally for students that are going to be using the AstroTurf and our 3G pitch a lot, then they need to be suitable for that. Coming to a secondary school can seem very daunting and very different for parents due to the nature of the building and the way in which we work. Obviously, you're used to being able to speak to and see your primary teachers on a daily basis, and our system is very different, with many of our students arriving on buses and others making their own way to school. Our communication policy is on our website. We have a range of ways in which we also share information, so many parents choose to follow our Facebook account and our Twitter accounts. We also try to update the website frequently, and there are a variety of methods which you can also use to track your son or daughter's progress at school. So class charts is very useful for knowing about their behaviour during the day. It's also how we predominantly set our homework. And there's also a Sims parent app which will enable you to access their reports, but also for you to share information with us if, for example, you change address. You can contact your head of year using the address that you can see on the screen. We also have PSAs at Tretherras. These are our Pastoral Support advisors, who you may find are easier to access due to the fact that they do not have any teaching time within their curriculum of the day. But also we have other processes. You can obviously phone us and ask to arrange a meeting, or email and also ask to arrange a meeting. But please be aware that due to the fact that most of our members of staff have got full teaching commitments, we can only make these meetings when there's availability, and it is our policy to try and communicate with you within 3 working days. It's important to state that that's working days and not weekends and not holidays. Please do not turn up unannounced, because there's nothing worse than having to let you down, but it's unlikely that we will be able to make an appointment with you at that point, again due to our teaching commitments.
Alongside our curriculum, we also offer the NT Character programme. This is something that will take place in tutor time, but is also encouraged throughout different lessons. You'll see on class charts that there are NT Character buttons, so your child may receive an achievement award in these. This kind of goes alongside lessons, but it's to encourage children to focus on their sort of wider being, thinking about different characteristics, thinking about work opportunities, thinking about the types of people that they're going to be as they progress throughout Tretherras. The next few slides outline a few more of these things in detail, and you'll hear more about this throughout the year.
Finally, just to end on safety, obviously we have a reputation for outstanding safeguarding at Tretherras. There is a dedicated safeguarding team with 2 DSLs, that's designated safeguarding leads, and also a deputy DSL. And also all of our heads of year are trained to level 3, and the rest of our school have followed all the regulation training. Our teaching staff also deliver many aspects of safety via SMSC, and also in our ICT lessons we teach about online safety. We also have technical staff who are trained in safeguarding, and a member of staff who works with the police via CEOPS to report any concerns. For additional help and guidance, you might find the addresses that you can see in front of you useful. Thank you for listening to this presentation. If you have any questions, then please feel free to email to the address that you can see online. So sorry that you haven't been able to meet with us this evening, but we're sure your son and daughter is going to have a fantastic time at Tretherras.